Hi, and welcome to GenFriends. I am Cheri Hudson-Passy, your host, and with me tonight we have Cheri O'Connell from the in-depth Genealogist. She's the executive
Director.
Director. I wanted to say producer, and that is not right. And we've got Mary Kircher-Roddy from MKR Genealogy.
Hi there.
Hi, Mary. And we have a very special guest tonight. We have Dan Debenham from Relative Race. He is the host, and you are one of the executive producers. Am I right?
Yes, I am the host. I am one of the executive producers, and I am one of the co-creators of the show.
Co-creators. So this wonderful show came out of your head, then?
It did. Yeah, about 5 years ago, probably close to 5 years ago now. We got a call from Ancestry DNA, and at the same time, a call from BYU TV, a nationwide television network. And we had worked with BYU TV. We'd created a show for them several years earlier. And they had this relationship with Ancestry.com and asked for a meeting. And they met in our offices, came out and met with us and said, look, we would like to have a show created that will highlight what Ancestry DNA is now getting ready to launch, which is called, Ancestry.com is now getting ready to launch, which is called Ancestry DNA. And so we said, okay, tell us what that is. And they told us, and our first comment was, hey, that's pretty cool. And then from there, we said, well, who's the audience? Who do you want to speak to? What exactly is the messaging you're trying to get across here? And we clearly heard from the network, BYU TV, that the message was how important it was to discover family and to find family, especially for those who have very little or no family of their own. And so we said, basic things like, do you want a 30-minute show or a 60-minute show? Very important to us was, what's your budget? And then when it comes to who's your audience, that tells us, kind of what production style they may be looking for. And when they said that they wanted it to be multi-generational, but they wanted, the first thing they said is, look, with all due respect to genealogy, one of the first things they asked is, do you know about genealogy? And I said, oh yeah, my dad has our genealogy back literally like 800 years. It's unbelievable. And he's got it all on his, he's got a tree that literally spans out about 6 feet on his wall when you walk into the house. So we know about, I know about my family, and but through this show and through the creation of it and the production of it, I'm keenly aware of all of those that aren't aware of family, who are searching for family, and are literally would do almost anything to just find someone that shares their same blood, that shares their same DNA, that is family. And so we came up with the show. The other thing that they asked for very clearly is they wanted something that was not boring. They said, look, they said, we just don't want something boring. They said there are genealogy shows on other networks already where we, quite frankly, think they're a little boring. They're just a little slow moving and boring. They fit their purpose and they're wonderful in their own ways, but that's not the show we want. And with that in mind, we got a few more ideas and specifics, and we said, give us a few weeks. And we came back with this show that we presented to them called Relative Race. And we said, that's just a working title. Actually, we called it The Relative Race. And they very wisely said, with social media, let's take off the word the, and let's just call it Relative Race. And that was the genesis and the incarnation of Relative Race. And we just finished filming season 4 just about 1 week ago. And we are now doing all the pre-production and the work for season 5.
Wow.
Love it. Love it. Okay, I'm going to turn this over to somebody else. I have a tendency to just keep talking, and so I need to let the people.
Oh yeah, like questions. I don't, right? Like I don't. Oh, I don't know how to talk at all.
Ask them. Ask them. They have to say, "Stop! I want to ask a question." Go ahead. Either one.
I had one question. When I watch the genealogy shows, and I'm there's a story that they're trying to tell, and they could go in a lot of different directions with any person's ancestors, and they choose to focus on these and tell that story. When do you come up with the story that you want to tell about these people? Is it before, or is it as you see it evolve?
That is a great question. And there is no definitive answer. Let me explain that, what I mean by that. Because if I understand you correctly, your point is, when do you find your story, and when do you decide what the direction of your story is?
Exactly.
So let me take you through kind of our processes quickly here. And so the process is, we have a casting call. And we used to do all of the casting ourselves. LenzWorks Productions is the name of the company that I'm a co-owner in. And we, LenzWorks Productions, used to do all the casting. We did that through a variety of ways. We've tried to continue to raise our game to do even better productions, and it all starts with casting. It is a television show, and so you want interesting people with hopefully very interesting stories to tell as part of your cast. So one of the things that we've done just recently is we've turned it over to 2 different casting agencies that do this for a living. All they do is they search out and try to find people for various television shows. And they give us usually about 20 to 30 very dynamic couples, and they vetted them a little bit. They found out why they'd want to be on the show and what family they're looking for. And then it gets turned over to us, and we narrow it down from there to usually about 8 or 12 couples. And those top 8 or 12 couples are then given to the network to make sure that they're on board too, that they basically give us a thumbs up, yes, start your research. And we choose a top 4 teams or couples that we'd like to have on the show, then a backup 4 teams, and then a tertiary, a third set of backup teams. And the reason why we need all those teams is about what I'm to tell you, which is to answer your question of how do you figure out the story and when does that come about? Once we've identified the top 12 teams for 4 spots on every season, then we turn it over first to our 4 professional genealogists. They happen to be women, 4 women that were recommended to us, and some of them are already or had already been doing this work for other television shows out there. In essence, they were hired consultants to do genealogy work. Unlike most other shows, or virtually well, that's not true, not all of them, but almost every other genealogy or family research-based shows, most of those shows are happy with or are looking for relatives who have passed on. That's not our show. Our show is just the opposite. We're trying to find the strongest link to family that is alive and well. And so those genealogists do that initial bit of research, because often adoption records are closed. And so we use a genealogist there that has expertise literally in adoptions. And so she knows her ways around the courts sometimes, or the states, or she can recommend private detectives to us. We've petitioned courts before. We actually filed suit in one of the states that I will go unmentioned that we were successful in. For the first time in that state's history, making public an adoption records that they normally, up until that point, had never allowed to be made public. And,
wow.
and so we employ a lot of those services early on. Now, after about a month of all of their research, full time, they then give us their recommendations of who they feel would be the strongest candidates to be able to find more family. Because either they reach a dead end and they go, look, I don't think, can we find family? Yes, but they're going to be third cousins, or they're going to be, fourth cousins. And that's what we did the first season of the show. For those who watched, our very first season of the show, it was in essence a proof of concept. And everybody there was like third or fourth cousins. We did have one niece that we were able to find for one woman, but mostly they were third and fourth cousins. And once that proof of concept worked, more funds were given for the show, and we were able to make it better. And the most important part of making it better is finding closer related family members. And so it starts with those private genealogists, then it goes to our in-house full-time team of producers, associate producers, and production assistants. And we have 12 people working full-time doing nothing but then following up on what were basically enigmas. They were all riddles or dead ends that our professional genealogists have been able to open doors or crack doors open, and then let us kind of do more of the grunt work, which is a lot of phone calling and following up and keeping out there. And, I don't want to say harass, because we really do that, but we certainly we keep bugging away at people to return our phone calls and return our emails and let us know if this is the family and if they're related to so-and-so, which we've thought, and that we are a legitimate television show. We send them links to our episodes and say, here's who we are. Would you like to be part of this show? And out of often hundreds of potential relatives that we contact, we may only have 8 or 12 that agree to be on the show, or agree in essence for more vetting, if you will, or deeper genealogy work. That has resulted in some cases of sending out 3 and 4 paternity tests to men or women that, well, it wouldn't be women. I can say that men to this point, men that have said, and they're not trying to run away. I can honestly say that none of them have tried to run away from their responsibilities. It's just that when we come on the scene, you can imagine that sometimes it's a little startling when we say, are you aware that you have a son or a daughter and they've been looking for you your entire life, and we're a show that has an opportunity to put you two together. And it's not too uncommon that we have people go, you're crazy. Who are you guys? And we've had to also then send out paternity tests to prove to them that, yes, you are in fact who we thought you were. It's still up to them whether or not they want to be on the show. I can tell you that just this past season, we had done the research, found a mother that had given up her child, actually 2 children that all these years later, they heard about the show, wanted to be on the show. We thought they were fantastic. The first vetting process, we thought they'd be great on television. And we thought, we haven't had a team of 2 brothers before. This would be fantastic. We actually went through an incredible amount of time and money, including private detectives, to find the mother. And the mother just flat out refused. She said, I don't want to have anything to do with this. I don't want to meet my children. I don't want to get reacquainted with them. And I certainly don't want to be on a television show.
Wow.
That's
a lot to ask somebody. That's a lot, not only to admit and for family that probably didn't know, but then to be on TV. That's a lot for people.
It is. And we do it. I'm not trying to defend ourselves, because I'm very proud of what we do, but we do it with an open mind and heart, if you will. I'm being serious here. We're very sensitive to this. We try to be careful and thoughtful and respectful. And we make it very clear that this is your decision. And in some cases, I can tell you, those that have been on the show, we've started with these baby steps, including even after positive paternity tests, of saying, would it be helpful if I sent you a picture of your child? Yes. That might be a first step. Okay. Then would it be helpful to let you know that they're not asking anything from you? They're actually very successful in their careers. They're, oftentimes we're able to share, they're married. They have what seems to be strong marriages. They have children of their own. They would just like to know who their dad was, or they'd like to meet their mom, and we try to be thoughtful and respectful and careful. And I can tell you that we've only had that one case, one time. And everybody else has sometimes immediately, and sometimes after a thoughtful, careful deliberation on their part, everyone else has agreed to be on the show. And you see the results of that. They are beautiful, amazing, incredibly real moments of people finding each other, family, for the first times ever.
And you've done an amazing job of doing that. I think we all agree that you can feel that that's what your purpose is, and you accomplish that each week. The stories are beautiful. They're wonderfully handled. The emotion is real, but it's not like a scandalous kind of thing. It's real emotion and real families finding each other and discovering who they are and the stories that they were looking for. And so I personally applaud you for being able to do it in such a uplifting way.
Well, we appreciate it. We find ourselves very emotionally attached to these families because we've done all the research, usually for about 4 straight months, and we get so incredibly excited and stressed at the same time, because this is an unscripted show. It is a reality show. To your point, we are the opposite of virtually almost every other reality show out there. Most reality shows, in my opinion, tend to try to kind of showcase the worst of people and the aha and I got you moments. Ours is just the opposite. We want the aha moments, but we want them to showcase the best of all of us. And the result is what you see on the show, but there's an incredible amount of emotional attachment for all of us involved with the show, because we've done the research, we've discovered the families, and then we hope that all of that work pays off. We hope that 2 people will look at each other and kind of melt, into each other from exhaustion, from exhilaration, because as you know, the show to get to your relative's house, you got to get through a lot to find a relative every day, and the show was designed that way. It was designed to create that moment, to have it be a peak moment throughout the team's day, that they're challenged mentally, physically, emotionally throughout the day, and then that moment of being able to find, meet, and discover a relative is where they can just let all their emotion go. And it's amazing to watch it unfold. It is so touching that at times I find myself, and I've been involved in television for 35 years now, and I have hosted literally thousands of shows, and this is the only show that I can ever think of where I have to really consciously try to protect my emotions, or else I would be crying and then I would become part of the focus of the show, and I shouldn't be. I'm just the facilitator. As the host, I'm just trying to be the traffic cop. I'm just trying to set things up and step back. And I don't want to be emotional in these shows because I think it draws attention to me unnecessarily so. But there's times that I can't help myself. I find myself crying in the moment on live television. And I think, how unprofessionally of me. And yet I think I am so grateful that I'm part of a show that it touches me so deeply that it pulls me out of this. It's very touching.
But before I turn over to Cheri to ask some questions, you need to know that your emotion is just our emotion, what we're feeling as we're watching. So know that you're just portraying what the audience is feeling. So know that when you're crying, that we're all crying too.
Crying.
That's sweet.
Cheri, what did you want to ask Dan?
Okay, so since Relative Race started, we as a group have been able to pick our favorite team, usually within episode 1, except for this year. Season 3 was definitely a game changer for us. So I would like to know, did you have a favorite season? Do you have a favorite story?
Okay, that is another great question. It's very unfair, but it's a good question. The answer to that is yes and yes. And this is not just oh yeah, that's a generic nice answer that keeps them safe, but it's true. Every season so far has been my favorite season. But I'm serious. I mean, I thought season 1 was so much fun. I personally, and I know there's a lot of fans that hated this part of it, and it's why we changed the structure of the show significantly. But I actually loved the dynamic of season 1 in the cars. I loved how much they were yelling at each other and stuff, because I thought, for heaven's sakes, I've been married for 33 years. That's us. Of course that's us. That's every couple in America. And so I thought it was great, but we got feedback of, oh, it's too mean. It's, they're not being nice in the cars to each other. And I wanted to respond by saying, yeah, that's called reality. Welcome to being in a car for 12 hours a day with your spouse when she's looking at you going, you're an idiot, Dan. You were supposed to turn back there. So I love season 1, and then we did season 2. And I didn't think that there could ever be a moment, ever, that could top Joe finding his father, especially when we knew, LenzWorks Productions knew how sick his father was. And we were actually very hopeful that we would be there before his father passed away. And as most fans of the show know, sadly, I mean really sadly, Joe's father did pass away several months after the show. But what an amazing, the amazing reality that we were able to bring those two together and discover each other before Joe lost his father is something that will sit with me forever. But then fast forward to season 3, which
we didn't think you could top it either. So yeah.
Yeah. And then season 3 comes along, and I got to tell you that as much as I love Joe, in season 2, Kayla and Dooley were my favorite. I just loved Kayla and Dooley. I just love those two. I just love the both of them. Then season 3 comes along, and I felt kind of a kinship with Troy on Team Red. He's and part of it is just our physical mannerisms. He's about my height. We're both very tall. We're kind of larger guys. I just really was drawn to Troy. Now, as a team, I got to tell you that I fell in love with Team Green. Those two girls, those sisters. I just loved them, even though they had the least strong family story taking place. But I just fell in love with them. Now, what I can tell you is we just finished filming season 4. Oh my goodness. Wait for this fall when season 4 airs this fall. Oh my goodness. There are, as amazing as the moments are, meaning we went from some really great moments in season 2 to more of those type of great moments in season 3. Season 4 has those moments everywhere all the time. It's just like unbelievable. And I can tell you that there's something that happens in season 4 that has never happened before, and quite honestly, that I hope will never happen again. And that's literally all I can say about it. It is unscripted. It will be there. We're not going to try to hide it. But something happens in season 4 that has never happened before, and I hope won't happen again. But it is an interesting part of season 4. It's very interesting. The very interesting part of season 4. I can also tell you that those emotional moments that we have all, I think that's what attracts us to the show, because family means so much to all of us, and again we see that play out in a very real, positive way. There are more of those moments in season 4 than season 3 or season 2.
Wow.
So then Relative Race or BYU TV, somebody needs to talk to the tissue companies about some stuff. Because we are always sending messages, make sure you have your Kleenex. This one was really, you will cry through it.
You will be, oh my gosh. You will need, go to Costco, buy the entire box, because there are every single episode you will just go, get me another Kleenex, please. Yeah, it's really remarkable. And what is the potential for season 5 that we've narrowed it down to our top 12? And I can tell you that we do have one team that we've started the genealogy research on, and they've already found like the main person we're hoping to find. Now, whether or not they'll agree to be on the show is what our work is cut out now for the next we've got to know in about 4 weeks, or we'll have to move on to another backup team. But the potential for season 5, I don't know how we can outdo season 4, but the potential is there to do that for season 5.
Amazing.
So
absolutely amazing. I don't want to wait till fall.
I know.
We need back to back shows. Get working harder.
that would kill I would have every crew person leave and quit on me. And meaning they're not only are they incredible professionals, but they actually all are personally attached. I've never seen a group of production professionals become personally attached to something, because it's just our line of work. It's our career. That's not the case for this show. Every single person that is attached to this show at LenzWorks Productions, everyone without fail has a very deep personal commitment to the show. And it's why the closer we come to when our shoot date is, when we're actually producing the 10 days of racing, because it's 10 straight days of racing. We don't say to the audience, oh, that was 10 days and we actually took 3 weeks. It's 10 solid straight days. And as a result, our crews are they're averaging about 16 hours a day. And there are some days that go to 20-hour days. And the reason why they do it is not for the money. Yes, are they paid well? Yes, they are, and they deserve it. But they could make a lot more money working on other shows. I can tell you that. They do it because they absolutely, to a man and to a woman at our company, they say they have never been involved with anything that is more satisfying to them personally than this show.
It's because you're changing people's lives.
Yes, yes. And we get the follow-up from these teams. They stay in touch with us. And let me tell you, I can tell you that from Team 1, Team Red, for instance, which actually won the first season, the couple from Las Vegas, that within the first 18 months of that show, they had never been to a single family reunion in their life because they didn't have any family. They went to 5 family reunions at different spots around the country.
Lovely.
And they loved every second of it. Their point was, we have family. I can tell you that, sadly, as I'm saying this, I think of my family reunions that I have, and sometimes I really think, oh my goodness, how am I going to find the time? We're all going to sit around. We all know each other. It's just keeping up. I bump into half of them around town. Why do we have to have the quote unquote family reunion? That's actually part of my thinking. It's just because I'm busy. I'm not saying it's yours or anybody else's. I'm just being very honest here. That sometimes I see these family reunions as too much for my very, very busy life. And now, let me tell you, that's not how I feel anymore. I think through the eyes of all of these people and the joy of them telling us, whether it be 1 month or 1 year or 2 years after they've discovered their family, Dan, or dear LenzWorks, or dear Relative Race, we just wanted you to know we attended our 3rd family reunion. Thanks for changing our lives forever. And then I think, how selfish of me to not realize how fortunate I am, how blessed I am to have my family that wants to have family reunions every year.
Yeah.
Exactly. You're changing lots of lives with this show. Lots of lives. Does anybody else have a question they would like, as we're coming to the end of our 30 minutes?
One last thing. So Relative Race 3, last day, DC. We loved whatever the game was. I can't even think of it.
The speech.
Historical scavenger.
Oh no, that one.
Yeah, I was like, I can't even think of it. We loved it. So we propose that at Roots Tech, you need to put something together for all the genealogists there.
You know what? That's funny that you said, we actually proposed that.
Really?
Yeah, we actually proposed that. And my understanding of why it got nixed is it was an insurance liability issue with Roots Tech, the conference organizers, and the Salt Palace Convention Center. That there was a liability issue that somebody would, if somebody hurt themselves in the scavenger hunt, that they would sue the city and sue the conference and sue the organizers. And I thought, well, do away with that. It's very simple. Have them sign a release form.
Right.
So, I mean, that's what we do on our show.
Right.
We have had one person threaten to sue us, believe it or not, which was stunning to me. We very recently had a second person that spoke about suits, but we quickly got it taken care of. But we just live in a society that is very litigious and very surprising. And it's got everybody jumpy and leery, where I grew up in the day that literally, and my father was a very prominent attorney. And my father, as an attorney, would do many business transactions with a handshake. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, that's just a thing of the past. So that's the answer to the scavenger hunt. I'll bring it up again. I'll bring it up again and mention it as a result of our conversation here with some prominent and passionate genealogists around the country that they'd like to see something like that at Roots Tech. We'll bear the cost. I'm not going to
totally sign up.
Yeah. It would be, we really, and so what we did at Roots Tech was our next best answer. Our next best option was, since that got nixed, was to bring people to our booth. We actually had a booth for the first time this year at Roots Tech, and we've been told we're going to have it again.
Oh, good.
We had people participate in doing challenges that were part of the show. So they actually had an opportunity to do several of the same challenges that were featured in season 3. And then if they did it within a certain amount of time, they got these really nice swag Relative Race t-shirts, and they are nice. They're those nice, expensive.
Mary wears hers all the time.
Yeah, I don't know why I don't have it on tonight. I needed to have it on, and it didn't stick it. Oh, bad me. I should have put it on.
They were nice.
Yeah.
I thought there was no way, because you had to complete the challenge. So I thought there's no way that we will have more than 1,000 of those. There's no way. And that cost me like $15,000. and they were gone a day before the show was over. And I felt horrible because people were, we were giving them bracelets and pencils and other Relative Race branded.
Well, and we got to see inside the cars. I mean, that was wonderful. I got a picture in a car.
That's right.
That was great.
Cool.
So it's fun. What I would recommend though is, instead of a booth, have a room. You got too many people that want to come.
That's true.
There were a lot of people in that booth. It's a joint venture. BYU TV pays for the network pays for the actual space of the booth, and then we pay all the cost of doing whatever we're going to do in the booth and planning it and prepping. And it's a wonderful relationship. Our relationship with the network, with BYU TV, has been, it is, because we've worked with plenty of other networks over the last 20 years, and I cannot tell you what an amazing relationship this is. It's really, I see this as very much a joint venture. We may be the production company, but without their support and commitment to the show wouldn't be taking place, and we're very grateful for that.
That's awesome. I want to be in the booth next to you.
Yeah.
Come on in, girlfriend.
I'm going to tell them you said that.
That's right. We're just going to hang with you the whole time next Rootstock. Mary, did you have any other questions you wanted to ask?
No, I don't think so. I really enjoyed hearing what you had to say, Dan, and I could listen to you for hours. But
exactly.
I'm looking forward very much to next season. And the one thing, you kind of got to go with that Netflix model. Just drop the whole season in one day, because man, I would just suck that down.
It's very interesting that you mentioned networks. I can Netflix. Oh man, I wonder if I can talk about this. We
won't tell anybody.
There are oh yeah. Now this whole thing that's going out to everybody. Yeah. I can tell you that there is that BYU TV has always been open to joint ventures if it makes sense, and that includes distribution. And so I know that BYU TV has worked with. It's interesting that you mentioned Netflix. They have actually worked with Netflix in the past, and so I know those conversations continue. I don't involve myself deeply in those. I offer thoughts and insights if they're helpful, but I'm not the network. The network is run by a bunch of very smart people that are way above my pay grade. I'm just the guy that tries to make really quality, entertaining television that's meaningful and impactful.
One last question for you. Tell us really quick about that command center.
So it's interesting. I get a lot of questions about that. So if you remember in season 1, it was actually just one of our upstairs offices, and we were quickly told, "Hey Dan, you're a little creepy sitting up there in the vault by yourself." And I was like, I said, "Oh, well, if we had a different budget, we could do some different things." So the next season, we leased a space downtown from us. That space went away, and then we currently have the space that we're in, that we're going to remain in, which is now it's interesting because a lot of people say, well, where is that? And I've had a lot of national people. I had a call, I think it was with the New York Times a few weeks ago, and they said, so that's in Provo, I would assume, correct? And I said, no, but you're close. I said, it's downtown Salt Lake. And so That's why we changed the graphic to say we no longer wanted to mislead people, which in the first 2 seasons we said Boston or New York offices. Well, the network had a problem with that because it's not fine and dandy to them to be misleading anyway. And so that's why we now just say relative race offices, and that's what they are. Those are our relative race offices. So we leave it at that. We have a different production facility. So those are our relative race offices and our production facility, and they're both in Salt Lake City. And those that know Salt Lake City well recognize many of the buildings that our helicopter shots show. They're like, oh yeah, that's the Wells Fargo Center, or oh yeah, that's the, you know, the Zions Bank building, or it's like, yeah, those are all the downtown shots. We make them as kind of generic as you can, so that the viewer can, in their own mind, come up with whatever city they think those might be in. And then all we put on the lower third graphic is it says relative race offices.
Fabulous. Fabulous. Thanks for sharing that, because we've talked about that a couple of times. Ooh, we want to go to those offices. We want to be in that command center.
You guys give me a call. I'll let you know when we're filming our pickup shots, because the live shots are done live. So the nightly, the shots that you see where we're all video conferencing, well, those are done live every night. Those are done live, and you're more than welcome to come there at those nights if you want to. But they're done. They're done live. Now, the other shots that you see that show all of the employees and everybody working around, those are pickup shots. We shoot those after the 10 days of racing. And those are done to just simply make the show look bigger and more dramatic. And it's done by all networks on all shows. But you guys want it. They're a little boring because it takes us about 8 hours to film about 12 total shots. I mean, it's a lot of, let's get all the lighting, let's rehearse, let's get everything perfect. And that takes about an hour. And then it takes me about 2 minutes to do my part. And then we take another hour to reset and everything. So there's a lot of what we call hurry up and wait. And so it's, quite frankly, I would think it would be a little boring for you guys, but you're more than welcome to come and watch us do that if you want. You could come. In fact, if you guys wanted to be extras, you could be on the show. You could be one of the office staff.
Stop now, stop. You know I live in Myrtle Beach. I'm good.
I'm being serious. If you guys find yourselves where it's like, that would be fun, I'll come out and do some research at the end, you know, at the, whatever that's called, the Genealogist, whatever the big records.
The Family History Library.
Yeah. So we don't work with them. So I'm sorry, I don't know what that's called.
All right.
And I'm not from Salt Lake. I grew up in California and Alaska. So if you guys ever wanted to come to Salt Lake, you know, and you guys are open to the dates, I can tell you when we know about 5 weeks in advance those dates that we're filming. But like I said, it's a lot of boringness. But you guys could certainly be, you know, one of the people that are in the background on the headsets, and you know that sitting in front of computers. And then when you see the show, you can go, "I told you I was on the show. It's right there."
Oh, the temptation! Oh, the temptation! It's real. I'm gonna have to know those dates.
You're welcome anytime.
Oh,
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, if you could just let us do a walkthrough while the teams are running through.
That won't happen.
I know. But hey, I could try, right? Well, Dan, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Hey,
we love the show. Anybody who watches GenFriends know how much we love the show. So you are welcome to come back anytime if you want to come.
Every season.
Every season, if you want to come on before season 4 hits the air and tell us a little bit more, we'd love to have you. Thank you.
You can call me back up and I can determine what I can say, or whether I'd get knocked off by some James Bond person because I
Exactly. I'd like to thank Mary and Terry for being with us tonight too. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mary and Terry and Cheri and Barry and Larry and Larry. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. And we will see you next time on GenFriends. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Good night.